I was born ready. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you guys follow Canelo. I'm on his verified Twitter account at Canelo, and he posted this picture of him. As you know, I made a video about it. He's injured, and in the Liam Smith fight, he got injured. He hurt his right thumb, and you see him with the cast, and he's already back training. I want to talk about Canelo and give some updates. Now, as far as one thing I'm really happy for is I'm not happy he got injured, but I'm happy that it doesn't look like his injury is that severe. Plus, him being injured and not fighting in December has clearly helped HBO's boxing program, and it's made for some good fights, and HBO is closing the fourth quarter very well. You know what I mean? They had a very rocky first 6 months, I would say, where they didn't really have much going on. And then the fights that they did have, you had to pay for as a consumer, HBO pay-per-view. So it's like they freed up their budget by not having Canelo fight in December, clearly, because Nicholas Walters versus Lomachenko is happening in November. Ward Kovalev is happening on pay-per-view. They passed up on Pacquiao Vargas, so they're not airing that. Top Rank is distributing that fight themselves. But then they also have, it was just announced, I made a video about it, Takashi Miura versus Orlando Salido going up for a WBC title, an interim title. So right there, that's 3 HBO fights, 2 on regular HBO, one of those being a really meaningful fight at 130, and that's again Vasyl Lomachenko, Nicholas Walters. The other one should be a barn burner for an interim title, and it should be a very exciting fight at the Forum, and that's Orlando Salido versus Takashi. And then obviously another very meaningful fight, I would say the most meaningful fight this year, the fight with Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev, and that is pay-per-view. So I mean, this is great. It's great that Canelo is on the sidelines. I mean, he did his numbers. He fought twice. Not necessarily the people we wanted to see him fight, but it clearly helped the HBO budgeting program. And maybe they got to start that. I think these entities, and then I'll get to some more Canelo stuff. I think these boxing entities like HBO, I understand Canelo sells and stuff like that, but they need to start demanding something out of their A-sides. Like, we're not just putting you on versus anybody, because look at the amount of fights we're able to make by you sitting out. You know what I mean? And this is no coincidence that if Canelo, I really don't believe that if Canelo continued to fight, we would be having all these HBO fights. Oh, and I forgot to mention the other fight. It's not a done deal, but the person who may take the Canelo date, and I did a video about that, is Gennady Golovkin versus Danny Jacobs, which is a great fight. So if they pull that off, HBO is looking mighty fine. And most of those fights were made after we knew Canelo was injured, right? The only one that really wasn't was Ward versus Kovalev. We knew that fight was happening. But as far as these other fights, they kind of came into fruition after, and hopefully Golovkin versus Jacobs gets made, and that's a hell of a close for HBO. So shout out to Canelo for fighting a guy we didn't want to see you fight, getting injured, and it's not a supreme injury, you know what I mean? It's not like his eye or something. Doctor said he can return in 4 to 6 weeks, and he's already back running, back training. Now, other Canelo news, it looks like he's training a little bit prematurely. I don't think it's been quite 4 to 6 weeks, but maybe he's feeling good and he's already training. But he's supposed to meet up with Golden Boy to kind of discuss his future. They say he might come back in January or February. Obviously, there's no names. I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be Gennady Golovkin in his very first fight back. They're just not going to do it coming off of an injury. They're not going to put him in there with Golovkin. Besides, Golden Boy already made it abundantly clear, if anything, this would happen in the fall of 2017, and we don't even know if that will happen. So it's not going to be that. It's not going to be a Golovkin fight. Just keep it real. But the options, he has a couple people. I don't know what Billy Joe Saunders is doing. I think Billy Joe Saunders, he had a fight, and I don't know what happened, but I think that was for October. I don't even know who he's fighting, if it's going on. I think I read something about the fight's over. Canelo, I think he needs to do something big. He needs to get back into the win column with another meaningful fight. You know what I mean? A fight that really means something. The last fight that I feel really did something for his career in terms of showed us stuff that like proved something to us was clearly the Cotto fight. Cotto's a Hall of Famer. He was on a little tear and a win streak, 3 knockouts in a row, I think, and Canelo put a stop to that. But Liam Smith didn't show me anything. I mean, we know Canelo does good against guys who come forward, right? We knew Amir Khan was undersized and had durability chin issues going, like, you know what I mean, dealing with someone like Canelo that size in a new weight division for a full 12 rounds. We knew that. So to me, those fights for me didn't prove anything, because this is what Canelo has always been good. He's always a good boxer puncher. To me, a lot of people say, oh, he's improved. I do see subtle adjustments, but the ultimate telling and the ultimate revelation will be when he fights like a guy like a Demetrius Andrade, a lot of rematch, and then we can see how much he's improved, because those are the styles that have complicated him. He's even said that. He's like, oh, who wants to see a lot of fight because he has a complicated style and he's gonna run, you know what I mean? So by fighting a Liam Smith, it doesn't really prove anything. However, in the case of Canelo versus Triple G, Canelo is clearly the A side. I told you guys that. They just revealed that he did 18 million homes versus Liam Smith. 18 million homes on free. They have Azteca 7. It's a channel in Mexico, and 18 million people viewed it on Mexican Independence Day weekend. So he's clearly the A side. We'll see what happens with Golovkin if he fights Danny Jacobs, and that's a dangerous fight for Golovkin, but he would open up as a favorite, and we'll see what Canelo does. So I'm just kind of gearing up, looking forward to seeing what these teams decide to do next, because I'm seeing a lot of articles, a lot of fanfare, people picking sides, taking sides, and I don't know if it's really quite working how Golden Boy thought it would. I think they probably thought they could buy more time and people wouldn't be coming down on Canelo like this. And I think Canelo himself is probably starting to get upset. You know what I mean? This millennial digital age is crazy. You know what I mean? You wake up every day and there's a lot of people. I mean, he obviously has fans, but there's also a lot of people who are calling him names. Stop running from Triple G, you damn chicken. I mean, look, it's on any page. Chickens, Triple G, Team Golovkin. You know what I mean? So I know that has to get under a fighter's skin. Like, you can have thick skin, but look, Triple G. So I think this is like a sign for boxing, that people aren't just gonna settle for whatever. People have more of a voice now, right? Versus, let's say Muhammad Ali, or I'm not gonna go back that far. I shook up the world. No, I'm just playing. Let's say Riddick Bowe versus Lennox Lewis. Let's say when that fight was being talked about and people wanted to see it. This is back in the day of like Don King and VHS tapes and things like that. So there was not like a Twitter. They didn't have MySpace, Top 8 and Tom and all this shit. They didn't have Facebook, Snapchat. They didn't have online video streaming, Periscope. They didn't have all these things. So the point being is, even though people were probably upset that fights like that weren't being made at the time, they didn't have an outlet. Now you could get on these social media pages and put these comments, Triple G, or go to Triple G, like, oh, fight Canelo, you chicken. You know what I mean? You could do stuff like that. You have people like me, like, I actually cover fights, you know what I mean? And this all started from YouTube, from making videos. I was doing prediction videos and just talking boxing. I never even expected anything from it. I was just doing it as a fan, right? So that's the day and age we live in. So as people more than ever have that voice and they have that impact. So we can actually, as fans, put a lot of pressure on, in media. You know what I mean? We can put a lot of pressure on these fighters to do what's right for the sport of boxing. Like I said, look at the comments. I mean, the comments speak for themselves. So people aren't just gonna forget about it. And I think that Golden Boy is starting to realize that the fight is not gonna, in my opinion, marinate it's just gonna turn people off from the fight. Letting it marinate is actually not really doing anything productive. It's just hurting your star, your #1 cash cow on Golden Boy. It's hurting him more, because I'm seeing a ton of media members, that people that never wrote a bad article about Canelo in their lifetime. You You know what I'm saying? And now they're all of a sudden like, oh, Saul needs to step up and he needs to man up. You know what I mean? Just talking completely different than their previous work and their previous article. And then people like me that have been consistent and kind of call it how I see it the whole time. You know what I mean? It's just something's got to give for boxing fans. And there's a lot, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people doing it right. Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev, they're doing it right. Thurman Porter earlier this year. I think Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz, even though they ducked each other, or they ducked Guillermo Rigondeaux, they at least fought each other, which was still a good fight for Carl Frampton. Moved up in weight. Leo Santa Cruz was undefeated, things like that. Lomachenko versus Nicholas Walters, another example of it. So there are a lot of people taking the proper and appropriate challenges. We'll see what Canelo does when he's fully healed and what his team decides. Let me know what you think. Who should he fight? There's only a handful of people want to see him fight. Demetrius Andrade, one of the Charlo brothers. And I did a video about the Charlo brothers who called him out. And people keep saying, oh, that's easy work for Canelo. If it's so easy work, why didn't he get a belt from them? More accomplished guys. You know what I mean? They don't have the deepest resume, but it's certainly deeper than Liam Smith's resume. That's why some of these fans are like hilarious to me. You can't big up the Liam Smith fight, who really was a champion through a vacancy, kind of like the Charlos, but they at least have better names. The Charlo brother fought John Jackson, Austin Trout, Vanes Matarosen, right? Cornelius Bundridge when he was a champion off an impressive win over Carlos Molina. You know what I mean? Liam Smith didn't have no type of names like that. And again, they don't even, Charlos don't even have the most stacked. So I don't want to hear his easy work for Canelo. If it was so easy, then why didn't he actually choose them for it? But again, it is what it is. Hopefully the Golovkin fight happens and he has a speedy recovery, and his next fight should be really one that gears him up for a Golovkin fight. He needs to start working in that direction from what I see. Let me know what you guys think. Share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.